All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. It's meteorologist Hutch Johnson, and it's a pleasure visiting with you about the weather for today. It's very windy out there, still a little bit warm, but some of that high heat is on its way out. And in the transition, we're going to see some bumps along the ride. There's a risk of severe weather today. There's a risk of severe weather tomorrow. Your forecast tracking storms, timing, and all of that coming up right now. You're watching Hutch's weather, and coming up right after this, we'll talk about all of those facts.
A Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
All right, thanks to my sponsors at Robert Gibb and Sons. Did you know that if you're thinking of a commercial project, I want you to keep Robert Gibb in mind. For over 100 years, they have provided quality service, quality equipment, and quality technicians. You don't stick around for that many years without doing things right. Give Robert Gibb and Sons a call. Tell them Hutch sent you. Now, let's take a look at what we have going on with regards to what right now across the area. This is a look at your forecast model first and foremost. So let's go to that model guidance and talk about what it's showing as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours. We got this storm system spiraling its way in Montana. And we see this windy leading edge of rain showers, and that's pushing off into central Minnesota. There is a risk of severe weather today, and let's go through all of it. Let's turn on your model timeline here and get down into the northern plains. Now, first and foremost, very heavy rain continues in the big sky country of central Montana. The oil patch seeing some showers and thunder showers in the forecast. The forecast time is stamped up here. And what I want to point out is the risk of severe weather will be in the Red River Valley briefly, in the eastern parts of South Dakota briefly before exiting off to the east. So the timing will be anytime in the next couple of hours. You see what forms out here in eastern South Dakota. Most models are highlighting the risk in eastern South Dakota right along the state line, right along the I-29 corridor down to the south. So that's where things could fire up. Meanwhile, as you're in the Minot area, a swirling area of low pressure will bring the main cold pool of air our way. It's already quite cool off to the east. We'll go over your current conditions here in a minute, but check out these storms. Now, as they do fire off, anything that forms in the atmosphere south is in an environment that not only will allow for some pretty robust thunderstorm potential in the way of hail and damaging wind, but there could be some spin in the atmosphere or a little bit of it. So we can't rule out an isolated tornado. Now, these storms look to form in isolated fashion here and there. Notice not everybody will be seeing those. So we'll zoom back out to get a greater picture of the region and track these storms for you as we go through the evening hours. Notice a time frame here between dinner time and 9 p.m. is when they fire up, and then as they move out, they move off into the I-94 corridor and into Lakes Country by 10 or 11. Again, staying isolated in nature on this particular forecast model. Those carry through to Bemidji by around midnight to 1 a.m., Brainerd by midnight to 1 a.m. The risk as we go into the overnight hours for these storms being severe will not be as high, but it's not zero either, and that's why Hutch Johnson is here to keep you ahead of the showers and storms. Meanwhile, what was in the oil patch lifts up into Manitoba, lifts up into Saskatchewan. That's fun to say as we go through the evening hours. Now, let's zoom in on the radar here just a little bit, and we'll take you in. You know what? I'm going to tilt the earth just a little bit so we can see more cities. All right, so from St. Cloud through Bemidji, Walker, Park River, Brainerd, Baxter, Motley, Staples, all this area, and in toward the Red Lakes areas where we're expecting to see the thunderstorms as we go into the wee hours of the overnight. These will quickly zip off into the Arrowhead of Minnesota by daybreak. So these showers will move from west to east. They'll be in the eastern part of North Dakota briefly, and as we head into the late night hours, we're talking 10 to midnight, Lakes Country. After that, after midnight, we're talking central Minnesota and beyond. So that's a look at your forecast through the overnight hours. Now, there is a risk of severe storms tomorrow as well. Here's what the models have to say about that. These storms sweep out of here to the east, but that swirling area of low pressure, that pesky bugger sitting right there, is going to continue to swirl its wheels, bringing wind, passing showers, mainly to the north. And that's how our day looks. Windier. We will be noticeably cooler in many areas out west, and a chance for some showers and thunderstorms. Look at these. Well, it does look like a pretty good risk of severe storms from the Twin Cities into northern parts and western parts of Wisconsin, central and northern Iowa near Mason City, Rochester, all the way down into the southeast corner of Minnesota there. So That's where the risk of severe weather is for your day tomorrow. So that's a look at those. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a look at some forecast details here as well. Now, over the last 24, 36 hours, 2 days, we have gotten gully washed up here in the northern plains. So let's start with a quick look at your flood concerns there. If you are in Walhalla, Netchie, Langdon, these areas saw inordinate amounts of rain, over 5 inches by radar estimated. 5 inches of radar estimated rainfall in northern and central parts of the Marshall County, Minnesota area. So here is a look at what the National Weather Service is saying with regards to the trace of your river levels up to the north. Let's get right to it. First and foremost, you're looking at the Pembina River. This is at Netchie. We pointed this out yesterday. Look at how the river rose, whoop, straight up from a level of about under 3 feet where that flat line is there to over action stage, and it reached a crest of 16.36 feet, and that was as we went through the overnight hours. Now, it has since begun its decline. Here's the forecast trace of where it's expected to go. So the decline is expected to continue at Netchie. That's the good news. It never did reach that real critical stage or the moderate flooding that it was potentially set to be at. Now, that's just one. Now, let's take a look at that same river, but at Walhalla. And what's going on here? Well, we had more rain near Walhalla as we went through the morning hours this morning. And, well, that has exacerbated the rise that we saw from the main event that delivered the 3 to 5 inches of rain in your area. Then you had that same spike straight up in the air. It went all the way up into minor flood stage at 11.09 feet. That's where it crested initially. Then it went down over the 12-hour period. And then boom, we got more rain. So it's heading back up into action stage right now. Notice the forecast trace not really handling this too well, but action stage means that river level is getting to the edge of its banks, and it's time to prepare if you live along the Pembina River there at the Walhalla area. So that's what's going on in your area. Here's a look at your forecast as we go through the night tonight. The thunderstorm chances, we've talked about the timing. Look at the cool pool moving in. Now, our winds will be south or southeasterly in Fargo and in our eastern counties. That's going to keep temperatures milder there. We're talking mid 60s for most from the Red River and off into the east. Now, to the west, we'll see a few of you in the 50s. More refreshing air is on its way. Gusty, passing sprinkles and showers to the north as we start the day. Thursday afternoon, it does look like we'll have ourselves a chance of some wild weather to ride as we look into central Minnesota and points toward the Twin Cities. Now, there'll be passing showers throughout the day. Not all day, but periods of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder up north where you see these cool yellow colors here. So temperatures north will be in the 60s and low to mid 60s for some of you. If you're in Walhalla, if you're in Netchie, if you are up there in the Botno area, mid 60s for you. Now, the winds in the south will be from the south, and that keeps us warmer. We're going to kiss 80 degrees once again in Fargo. That big refreshing change, not here for your thawing Thursday. And the winds will be a changing direction. Up here where you see the cooler pool of air, that wind will be more northwesterly for our neighbors in parts of northern North Dakota. Westerly or northwesterly winds for you. Planning forecast. Here comes the relief, and it is in sight. I can see it. Can you? 70s in the forecast through Friday and Saturday. Our next chance of rain Friday night and into Saturday. And after that, it's really going to be spits and hit and miss sprinkles here and there. The next big system works its way into the northern plains as we go from Monday and into Tuesday and Wednesday. That will move up from the south, and it looks like we'll see some clouds in our southern counties here in the Red River Valley. That's it. The rain showers push into Iowa, southern Minnesota. That's where the chances of showers and storms will be the greatest for your Tuesday and Wednesday as temperatures begin to return from the 60s into the 70s. And by the way, keep this in mind. These numbers and digits are calculated for Fargo. And it does look like we're going to see even cooler air in a few spots. Yep. Cooler than 43 means some 30s might be in store for parts of northwest North Dakota and north central Minnesota, as well as the Arrowhead. So that's a look at that. Now, as we always do on Hutch's Weather, I do want to thank all of you for your submissions of photos to hutchesweather.com. And if you were out and about last night, that moon was magnificent, and that full harvest moon was a super moon. So it was more bigger than it usually is because of its closeness to the Earth. And basically, that just made it look larger at moonrise and moonset. It was very bright until it wasn't. And look at the photos that you shared of that awesome event last night. That was a partial lunar eclipse. I'll end with this for now, and then we'll get to your questions. So this is a view from, looks like a Swanville, Minnesota. Erica, thank you so very, very much. You can actually see how faint the moon looks there, thanks to the fact that the moon was riding partially in the shadow of the Earth. So really neat event to partake in. Really regional photos from Fergus Falls. Megan capturing this gorgeous scene. Look at that bright moon. Look at the size of it as it rose up above the clouds there in the sky. Thanks for your Fergus Falls view of that harvest moon. So many shots of the moon out there. This is from the Grandin area. HS sharing that, and it looks like we have some luminous colors there as that moonlight interacts with the water content in those clouds. Look at this. Same area, Grandin from HS, and a indeed gorgeous shot of our beautiful moon out there. And you can even see this one as we really see the darkness of the shadow of the Earth here, and only a partial shadow there from the different levels of shading that go on. And look at this big thing from South Heart. Beautiful out there in western North Dakota. And look at that, the moon rising between homes, because the moon does what the moon does. All right, you can peruse more of these awesome shots out there. Some of you sharing shots of recent auroral activity as well. It's all here on Hutch's Weather and hutchesweather.com. So I appreciate you joining. Let me check and see if I do have any questions. So let me get to those here by opening up your window, and then I can see who's joining and what's going on. We got Nathan. Thanks for joining from the Fargo, Moorhead area. Kathy, Grafton, good to have you on board as well. Cheryl from Park Rapids, sprinkling. Yeah, there's a batch of showers. I'll get to that radar here as well. Just logged on. What time for the Glencoe area? BA, good to hear you. And it does look like storms will be quite late getting there. There's a little bit of shower activity. We're going to go over that right now, radar right now once again. So we'll go over that. Hi from Ashley, Brenda, joining us. Freezing up, not quite freezing, but it's getting kind of close to some of those temperatures that could be on the chilly side. Okay, now let's take a look at a couple more things on what's going on right now as we wrap up. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope I'm getting you the answers you need to your weather in a timely fashion here. Okay, temperature trend right now. You can see the cool of pool going on across the region as we take a look. The cooler colors out to the west, that's where we have temperatures that are right now in the, 60s and maybe even a few 50s out here. Let me see what these digits are equating to. Yep, we have upper 50s in Beach, in Medora, that's near 60 degrees there. Dickinson, same thing. Williston, 60 degrees. Bismarck, we're in the low to mid 70s for you. Minot, 72 degrees. Grand Forks is 75, while it is 78 here in the FM area at this particular time. And then sneaking out to the Twin Cities, we have 80 degrees. So that's what's going on with the temperatures. Dew points is that stickiness in the air that you feel. It's a measure of moisture, but it's really a temperature, and it's how cool we need to cool the air to for it to become saturated. Dew points in the 70s are more often seen in the Gulf Coast states. They're not common up here, but we've had a lot of them this summer, and we have a lot of moisture in the air. So this little light shade of green you see from Fargo and Grand Forks all the way into parts of Minnesota, enough moisture in the air to fuel some storms. Do you see the redness out there near Pierre in the capital city for North Dakota? That's some very dry air out there with dew points are in the 30s. When we have air that's that dry at the surface on a clear night and a long night, we can see temperatures dip down into the 30s, so not uncommon. But dew points are certainly something to watch here, and this will fuel the chance for some storms. And speaking of those storms, let's take a look at the regional radar first to give you a feel, BA, as to what's going on in central and southern Minnesota. And here it is. So here's those showers that are twisting their way from northwest parts of Minnesota through Bemidji and the Brainerd Lakes area right now, seeing some scattered showers of rain. Let me make sure my lightning is on. I do believe it is. I just want to see whether or not these are creating some little flashes of lightning. Let me see. Okay, so I'm not seeing much in the way of lightning in our area. Let me just double check and turn it on. Okay, there's a couple here and there up north of the border. So not a lot of lightning. These are just garden variety showers, maybe a renegade rumble of thunder from time to time. In Hubbard County, north of Park Rapids, showers stretch into Nisswa and the Brainerd Lakes area right now. Motley seeing a few showers of light rain. It's heavier out here where you see the pinks, but not seeing much in the way of a thunderstorm threat from these. So these are not where we're expecting that severe risk. Where we were and where we started our conversation, and by the way, BA in here in southern and central parts of the Minnesota area here, we are seeing a few showers move in now. This is not the severe weather that we're worried about for tonight. Tonight's storms start here in the I-29 corridor is where they're expected as we get after the dinner hour. At about 10 o'clock, they're in Lakes Country. Midnight, they're in the Brainerd Lakes area in the central part of Minnesota, and then moving into the Arrowhead of Minnesota late at night. So Minneapolis could be seeing some overnight storms, and so could you in the Glencoe area, which was just on Hutch's radar right here. Hope that's where you're from, if I recall right. So at any rate, that's what's going on right now. Here is a look at the risk of severe weather in our area on this hump day, on this Monday. And the risk is from Millbank and Lakes Country straight down into Sioux Falls. The yellow area is a level 2 risk of severe storms, and that means a few storms could produce large hail and gusty winds out there. Can't rule out a tornado, but that's not the number one concern as we go through the evening tonight. There is some low-level spin in the atmosphere. And if there's going to be any of that nonsense, it'll be in the early stages of the storms when they form and when they're more isolated. As the event goes on, these storms get to be more heavy rain producers and wind producers as a result of that as well. So that's the area of concern for tonight. So BA, if you're in southern and central parts of Minnesota here, the risk of severe weather is a lot lower, although I do think there could be some windy storms and below severe criteria type storms. Here's what it looks like for you though, BA, tomorrow. If you're in parts of Minnesota, including Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, if you're in the Brainerd Lakes area, this looks like the main event tomorrow is going to be storms firing off, the mingling of this cooler, drier air with the hot, humid air. And we're talking northern Iowa from Des Moines straight north into Minneapolis, all the way into Ashland up there and the south shore of the Big Lake, the north shore not excluded. So Virginia to International Falls in the Rainy Lake area, all under the gun for that level 2 risk of severe weather as we go into your day on Thursday. So again, this is for Thursday. Today's risk is here in the I-29 corridor. All right, that should do it. That is a look at your weather. Again, I invite you to check out Hutch's website at hutchesweather.com. I don't know why I clicked on the road report there. Not much to see on the roads. There's no snow on them, and I can report that with confidence in our area. Again, hutchesweather.com for the very latest in your forecast. You can track and zoom on the radar at any time, and I invite you to head on over there and upload your photos of the weather that's going on in your area tonight. Now, if you are in the I-29 corridor of South Dakota, I'd love your reports tonight, and I will be here for you as storms develop. But for now, meteorologist Hutch Johnson checking out, and you can check in with me on my Facebook page. You can click the follow button. It sure does help. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, where soon I will be doing a national update for those folks elsewhere down south near Sioux Falls and areas that are expected to be impacted tonight by our severe weather risk.